Today I'm going to take you to an exhibition which is called Global Warning by Martin Parr. The exhibition is currently taking place at the Musée du Jeu de Paume in Paris until the 24th of May. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is about you're going to walk away with 10 findings from this exhibition that you can apply to your photography. At the beginning of 2026, I shared a post on Substack but also on YouTube about the exhibition I wanted to see in London and Paris. I shared photography but also painting exhibition. Recently I went to Paris. I finally managed to see a few of the exhibitions. The first exhibition I want to talk about is Global Warning from Martin Parr. Martin Parr is a British photographer. He died recently in December 2025, and this exhibition is a big retrospective, 50 years with 180 photos. The exhibition is organized in 4 different teams. You have masterism, consumerism, you have the animal kingdom, and you have the addiction to technology. So when I went to the museum on a Friday morning, took the queue for the people holding tickets. I didn't know what to expect from his exhibition. As you might have read before previously, I'm not a huge fan of Martin Parr's photography because I find it's too much in your face. It's the use of the flash. I found it sometimes a bit too much for me, especially compared to the type of photography I do, portrait photography. Some of my portraits can be quite dark, a lot of black and white. It was miles away from what I was doing. So why, as a photographer, would I go and visit this exhibition? First of all, as a photographer, I think we need to get out of our comfort zone. And I've been guilty of that. I'm talking by experience here because so many times I felt so comfortable in what I was doing, but I was not really evolving. I think we should evolve. As an artist, I think it's important not to stay stuck. And we might have new things to things because we're evolving our technique, we're considering new things. I really invite you to expand your knowledge, expand your boundaries. Visiting exhibition of photographers you don't necessarily like is one way to do it. The big walk away from this exhibition, Martin Parr was a documentary photographer for Magnum. It's walking away with holding a mirror into our face. Martin Parr showed us what we didn't want to see, and if nobody's showing us, who is going to show us? I think he had a very important mission because it's not going to be in the media, in the magazine, on social media that we're going to see how the world really looks like. We have all these pristine images, very beautiful images, pretty images I would say, but Martin Parr was not for the pretty image. What he wanted to show us is give us. That's why there's a pun in the exhibition's name, which is not called Global Warming as I called it so many times, but it's called Global Warning. And he's want to warn us about showing us how we're living and also how the society is transforming through consumerism to masterism. It's beyond unrecognizable. And he's holding a mirror, all these pictures, all these photographs during the exhibition. You're going to have serious slap in your face thinking, but this is us, this is me, I recognize myself. What are we doing about it? But it was also using his very British humor, a bit of satire, and some of the image, which I found quite funny. And he also said he wanted to transform reality into a distraction, which he managed to do. So here in this picture, you have people running in Calais to buy a lot of alcohol. But at the same time, I found it quite funny, and maybe it's even more far from reality. It's becoming entertainment. Is this still reality? Well, now that it's showing on the wall of the exhibition. What do you think? So the first thing I noticed about this exhibition really surprised me about Martin Parr was his black and white photography. I didn't know he was doing black and white photography, and his work, he was living in Ireland. I found his images very poetic. He was a very good observer. These images invite to quietness, closer to nature than what we saw in his previous work, in his more recent work. And I was wondering, why did a photographer like moving from doing this type of quiet, black and white, beautiful images, very poetic, moving into sunburned flesh on a beach using flash? And in fact, yeah, I think Martin Parr, once he started with black and white photography, because at the time he wanted to be taken as a serious photographer, color did not really have a lot of recognition. But this all changed in 1976 when William Eggleston had an exhibition at the MoMA. Finally, color photography had finally recognized as a serious medium. So Martin Parr moved into color photography. The thing had happened here, he was working as a photographer at Butlin, which is an aquatic holiday center on the south coast in England. So he was also influenced by John Hines, who worked there. He did a lot of project called The Postcard with a lot of beautiful colors, but also documenting the people at the beach in the resort. So I think this gave a lot of idea to Martin Parr. He also changed camera. He moved to a Global 6.7 camera, and he used the flash. He wanted more to imply commercial advertising photography, showing English seaside resorts, showing what real life looked like rather than something glamorous. His first project is called The Last Resort in 1980. 1996, where he shot in New Brighton, a beach near Liverpool, and it was not necessarily well received. Some people say it was making fun of English people. For him, it was also instilling a bit of humor into transforming reality into fiction, into an entertainment. And some of the images, like here, this image on the beach next to a working engine, it sounds really so unrealistic, nearly surrealistic, don't you think so? So what Martin Parr, what message does he want to give us? With using saturated color, using flash during daytime, his images are verging towards advertising, commercial photography, and also show us consumerism, the society we're living in, and also putting the finger on things we don't want to see, especially if you're using flash and it's a lot of saturated colors. You can't miss it. You really have to look into the picture, because if we don't see ourselves, who is going to show us? So Martin Parr was on a mission to really to show us what we look like, what our society look like, and maybe asking us, what are we going to do about it? This is us. And yes, I had the feeling when I was watching the image during the exhibition that I was part of this tribe, wondering, yes, what are we doing about this? Is it this really how we're living? Do we really think, do we really take a step back and think this is how we're living? I don't think so. I think we're constantly maybe in this kind of rat race. So what is it showing us? It's uncomfortable truths about consumerism, and some of these images are very powerful because they have been taken once after the revolution in Russia, when people had one thing in mind, to be able to shop, because they have been deprived for such a long time. They had to queue, there was nothing in the shops, and now suddenly everything was available. Then they didn't have the money to buy it. So you have this image of beauty shops, everybody in front of the window but just looking at it and not being able to buy anything. You have the mass tourism with the tourists. Sometimes I'm guilty of that as well, just putting my phone there to take a picture rather than enjoying the place and having an experience, because we want to show that we've been there, because we have so much stuff to share on social media, because we want to get noticed. We just want to show where we've been. So we take a photo instead of having an experience, of then enjoying the place, instead of really looking around. We just take photos and have them on the phone, and they're never going to leave our phone. So how many times you go somewhere and you think, let's enjoy the experience, let's keep the camera down, let's keep the phone down. When you look at it, maybe when you're there you don't really realize it, but when you look at the picture, it looks a bit pretty ridiculous, don't you think so? And this is us, and we don't want to see that, but he wanted to say, yes, global warning, look at this, look at this. You will still want to keep going on like this. What I also liked, he had an incredible sense of composition, which you already see in his black and white photography, beautiful poetic photography. Here in his images, I show you two images. I found this pretty incredible because we're really attracted in the picture, the way it's composed. You see the person is on this line. It's just, you just can't miss it. That's why I think these pictures are so powerful and are so compelling, because it has such a wonderful sense of composition, really to attract us into picture and to stay into it. So now I'm going to give you 10 takeaways from this exhibition you can apply to your photography. And please let me know in the comments which one you're going to, at least one, are you going to apply to your photography. Let me know. I'm really curious to hear, because I'm going to use some of these as well, and I will let you know in a future video. Be more intentional. So what does he mean by that? It means don't just take a pretty picture. Do something. You be intentional. What are you going to do? What are you going to say with this image? What is the purpose behind it? The second thing which goes with intention, of course, is the message. And photography is absolutely an amazing tool, especially for us introverts. First, you can either use, you have words, you can write with a pen, but photography is a way to use a voice and to spread something, to use a language to communicate. So instead of communicating with words, instead of communicating with voice, you use images to communicate something. So use that. And Martin Parr was always very strong about this. When you look through his images, what did he want to tell us? What did he want to say us? Yes, global warning. He wanted to tell us about us, the society, the way we live. And what do you want to say? What do you want to say with your photography? How are you going to use it as your voice? So what is the message there? Let me know in the comments. Going beyond the tools, an interesting fact is that he was using a wide angle lens. And wide angle lens, what does it mean? It means that you have to come really close to the subject. Otherwise, your subject in the picture is going to be very, very small. So what you have to do, you have to come very close. And he said it was not always comfortable to do, but it just gave him a different angle to get so close and to involve us also in the picture. We see somebody so small in the picture, we might not just realize, or we might not even take interest in it, but definitely he's pointing the finger on something on a different story using a wide angle lens. Commit to a team for a long time. So his project, The Last Resort, was spanning over 15 years. And what he's inviting us to do is to work on project for a long time. Why? Because you're going to go back to the same place. But you're going to use a different tool, you're going to use a different camera, there's going to be different people, the way they dress differently, things have changed. Yeah, before maybe he went there before using mobile phones, and now it's completely different because technology is involved. And also it's going to give you to see things differently. And working on project, when he was asked about what is your favorite picture, and he was saying, that's really a stupid question, because I like to work on a project to present something consistent, something that goes beyond the one image. And I agree with him, because I worked on two major projects. One which is called Women Who Served During World War II, and another one which is called Women Over 50 Reinvented Themselves. And this project really gave me the opportunity, first of all, to meet some amazing people and hear about their story. I had time to develop. If I would just have photographed one woman who was serving during World War II, I wouldn't have heard all these different stories. I discovered that some women were flying airplane during World War II, which I didn't have a clue. I think sticking to a project is going to give you a much deeper ways to work, and also to present images, and also your image are going to evolve if you're meeting different people. So consider working on a long-term project. And my project about women who volunteered was spanning over 4 years. The other project was spanning over 2 years. So it doesn't mean that you have to do it in one go. Just give yourself, and you're going to think differently. Things are going to evolve, and what you're going to present is going to be a series rather than just one image. What can you say with one image? Focus on the mundane, show the extraordinary. I absolutely love this picture. I found it, yes, if you look at it, it's pretty mundane, but that it becomes extraordinary because this woman is walking by. Every day, I think we walk by places and think, oh, it looks so ugly, there's nothing to say. But I don't agree with you. I think we should definitely make more of an effort to focus on the mundane, because it's about every day. There's not just beauty everywhere. We're not living in a beautiful world all the time. So what are you going to show? You might think something really extraordinary. Even just showing it in a picture, it becomes extraordinary, like in this one. Keep shooting. So I'm not sure I necessarily agree with Martin Parr on this one, because I don't like to come home with 1,000 images and then the work you have to go through them and find the best picture. That sounds a bit crazy to me, but in a way, his way of thinking was about, if you shoot a lot, you might get lucky to get really a gorgeous image. And yeah, that is definitely true. But it's not my way of working. Maybe I should do it a bit more. But because I use a lot of analog photography, I'm limiting by 36 images, sometimes 8 images. I got used to not necessarily to press the button all the time. And what I do sometimes, I look through the viewfinder and I think, oh no, I don't like it. And I don't press the shutter. I can see my Martin Parr point of view, because I might eventually miss an amazing photo. So what do you think? Let me know in the comment. I'm really curious to hear what you think about that. Working in fashion. So I didn't even know Martin Parr was a fashion photographer. I discovered this recently. He published a book called Fashion Faux Pas. Again, it's a pun, a way to use British humor. I love this. This is one of his images he shot for Vogue, I think. It's inspired from these other two pictures. You can see he was applying the style, the work he was using before into fashion photography. He didn't change, and I think this is why he was hired by these fashion brands, by this fashion magazine, because he had a very strong style. He knew what he was saying, he knew what he was doing, so they could trust that he knew that he could apply exactly what he was doing to the fashion magazine. And what Martin Parr said, basically, I'm a fashion photographer. I take fashion pictures exactly in the same way as I would do for personal work. I'm just applying my language to a commercial problem to solve. So it's just he's using a language, definitely do something with that. Using a language to solve a commercial problem. Actually, it's about solving a problem. How do you make an interesting pictures with people wearing these clothes on? This is what he says he has been doing for all his work. So I will definitely have a look into his fashion images. I'm really curious to see about what is in this book, but I love very much this one that I'm showing you. Another thing is be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day, but when you say be patient, it's also about waiting for a scene to unfold. When you go out on the street and you want to photograph, you're thinking, okay, this is nice, this is interesting, I want to move on. But sometimes, for example, when you're looking for a parking space. If you're waiting in one place, eventually somebody is going to leave and you're going to get a parking space. If you turn around, it might never happen because somebody else might just take your space. What it's doing is inviting us to just stay in a place and wait for a scene to unfold. And eventually a scene is going to unfold in front of us. Be patient, wait, see, look around what's unfolding, and you might see something very magical might unfold in front of your eyes. Treat everyone the same. So him, novelties, corporate people, everybody was at the same level. And I think it's a great thing to apply to our photography. For him, it was more about being true to himself, photograph the person the way he saw her. This is about, you can apply this to commissions, to corporate photography, to be yourself, but also understand how the person wants to be photographed, what you can bring out from this person. And it might not necessarily be what they want, because you might see something different. And I think this is what Martin Parr was saying. He might not necessarily see what everybody today is about, being beautiful, set in the best light and everything. But you might see something really different. You might bring on something really different and not necessarily what the person had in mind. So use that, use your voice, use your thinking about how you're going to photographing someone and treat everybody at the same level. This is going to help you definitely to be a bit more creative with your portraiture. Shoot program. He was thinking that shooting, he was fed up with the manual snobs. And I'm one of them. I love shooting manual, but I don't care. You know, I'm not a snob. And I think if you want to shoot a program, I completely get it. Especially if you're a wedding photographer, event photographer, you're not going to fiddle around with aperture, exposure. You don't have time for that. So I completely get it. But I think if you want to be a bit more creative, learn manual. I love to shoot blur a lot. Program is not going to allow me to do that. I want to be a bit more creative. But if I have to use programs, sometimes, yes, I travel and I'm going to use program. And I'm really, wow, my images are great, nothing else to do. I didn't have to think, I could just focus on the scene. I think it depends on the situation. It depends on what you want to do. If it's a bit more conceptual work, you might want to use manual. If you're out and about with a camera, yes, you can use program. Honestly, I'm not a snob. You do whatever works for you. Let me know what you think. Do you think, I hope you're going to walk away with one of these findings. Let me know in the comment which one you're going to choose. What are you going to apply to your photography working out after this video? This exhibition is at the Jeu de Paume until the 24th of May in Paris. I greatly enjoyed the exhibition. I was really surprised that I was enjoying so much, but I walked out like a wake-up call. These images made me consider what we're doing to the planet, to consider how we want to live. It made me consider how I want to photograph. To go, I would definitely recommend it. So let me know in the comment the point number 1 you're going to apply to your photography, sharing about what you think about shooting manual, if we should shoot all the time, quality over quantity. So thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to speak to you with another video. Thank you so much. Bye.